a world buried in ice, survival means choosing between life and death. When cannibals hunt you down and hope fades, will they find the warmth they need, or will the cold be their final enemy? Today, I've got something chilling and thrilling for you. A recap of the 2013 action sci-fi movie, The Colony. So buckle up, keep your eyes peeled, and stay safe because things are about to get intense. The movie kicks off with a heart-pounding scene. A terrified woman and a man are sprinting down a narrow, dark corridor. The air is thick with fear, and they're running as if their lives depend on it. Boom! They hit the end of the hallway, slamming into the door with all their might. Their fists pound against it as they shout and beg for someone, anyone, to let them in. In a bleak future, Earth is trapped in a deep freeze, and the last survivors live hidden underground. The world outside is nothing but snow, ice, and death. People cling to what's left of civilization, holding on to the hope of a better tomorrow. One of these shelters, Colony 7, is led by a strong and determined man named Briggs. He's doing his best to keep the people safe, but life in the colony is far from easy. Food and medicine are running low, and even something as small as a case of the flu can become a deadly epidemic. To stop the sickness from spreading, Briggs has set up a tough but necessary rule. Anyone who gets sick goes into a 40-day quarantine. If they don't get better by the end of it, they're faced with a harsh choice. They can leave the colony to survive on their own or be put down. It's a brutal system, but it's the only way to protect the rest of the people. Not everyone agrees with these rules. One man, Mason, takes things into his own hands. When Hal, a flu victim, hasn't fully recovered, Mason kills him in cold blood, convinced that Hal would try to come back. In this frozen wasteland, a lone person can't survive for long, and Mason doesn't want to risk the safety of the colony. Sam tries to stop Mason from going too far. He tells him to let Hal go since he made his choice to leave on his own, but Mason doesn't see it that way. He snaps back, saying it's not really a choice, it's just survival. One less person means more food for everyone else. Sam explains how lucky anyone is to even make it to a colony. In the early days, people who escaped the cities packed into these underground shelters, living on top of each other just to stay alive. But things got worse. People didn't live long in the cold, and now there's plenty of space. Colony 7 isn't just about surviving today. They've been saving seeds, hoping for the day when the ice age ends and life can grow again. But hope isn't enough when people break the rules. When Sam tells Briggs that Mason killed Hal, Briggs is furious. He knows survival comes with tough choices, but murder isn't one of them. An SOS signal flashes from Colony 5 just 2 days after they said they'd be shutting down their radio for repairs. The unexpected distress call sends a ripple of concern through Colony 7. Briggs quickly calls a meeting, gathering everyone together to figure out their next move. Before they get started, Briggs confronts Mason, letting him know he doesn't approve of his violent actions. Mason shrugs it off, making no effort to hide his anger and disdain. Meanwhile, Sam's girlfriend, Kai, watches over a small stash of precious seeds, locked away for the future. She stays connected to the outside world through an old laptop linked to a worn-out satellite. When Sam quietly tells her that Hal is dead, she takes the news calmly, understanding the harsh reality of their world. At the meeting, the air is bitterly cold, and people huddle together, fighting off the freezing temperatures. 2 colony members try to hide their symptoms, but the truth is clear. They have the flu. Sam mentions that she already fixed the ventilation system, but for these 2, it's too late. The sickness has taken hold. During the meeting, Briggs announces his plan to head out to Colony 5 and check on the distress call. He asks for 2 volunteers to go with him. Mason, as expected, disagrees with the idea. He warns that bringing back more people would just make their food supply even smaller. Sam steps up without hesitation, ready to go. He trusts Kai to handle the turbines and keep things running while he's gone. Then, Graydon, who's not exactly the most experienced when it comes to venturing outside, offers to join them anyway. He may not know much about surviving in the frozen wasteland, but he's willing to try. Suddenly, Elena starts coughing. The air fills with fear as panic grips the room. The meeting ends in chaos. Elena and her husband are immediately sent into quarantine. No chances can be taken. Before leaving, Briggs places Kai in charge of the colony. It's a big responsibility, but she knows what's at stake. The weight of leadership falls heavy in a world where every breath can be your last. That night, Sam's mind drifts into a haunting dream. He sees himself as a young boy, standing alone in the middle of a fierce polar storm. Snow swirls around him, biting at his face as he shivers in a heavy fur coat. His heart pounds as he stares at the lifeless bodies of his parents, frozen in the unforgiving cold. He jolts awake, his chest heaving with fear. Getting up, he splashes cold water on his face, trying to shake off the terrible memory. The sound of movement stirs behind him. Kai is awake too. She reaches for him, and their lips meet in a tender kiss, a brief moment of warmth in a world full of ice. Briggs, Sam, and Grayson step into the brutal, freezing cold as they leave the safety of the colony behind. Sam stares in awe at the endless frozen desert stretching before him, remembering the stories he heard as a kid. The world wasn't always like this. Long ago, people worried about global warming, but then the snow came, and it never stopped. In a desperate attempt to fix the climate, humans built giant towers to control the weather. They pass by the ruins of one now, a rusted monument to a failed dream. Their journey leads them to a crumbling, frozen bridge riddled with holes. Below, the river looks half frozen, but it's dangerous. No one would dare cross it on foot. As they make their way across, they come upon an old, frozen truck. Outside the truck, a man's lifeless body lies in the ice, a gun still by his side. Inside the cab, they find a woman with a gunshot wound to the forehead. Sam realizes, with a heavy heart, that the man likely killed her in despair when their truck got stuck and escape became impossible. Further along, they discover a wrecked helicopter used for emergency evacuations. Its broken, icy frame tells the story of a failed rescue. On the frosted window, someone had scrawled a chilling message: "Hell has frozen over." Using walkie-talkies, they check in with the colony. The flu is still claiming its grip on the sick couple. Briggs instructs them to wait until he returns. They decide to sleep in the helicopter for the night. By midday tomorrow, they expect to reach Colony 5. As they settle in, Grayson finds a tattered magazine with two bikini models, Nadia and Crystal, grinning from a different time. His face lights up with amusement. Sam shakes his head, remarking that he can't even remember the last time he saw the sun. The frozen world presses on, harsh and unforgiving. When they finally reach Colony 5, a dark sense of dread hangs in the icy air. A chilling blood trail leads from the entrance into the shadows beyond. Grayson freezes, his heart pounding with fear. "Maybe we should just leave," he mutters nervously. But Briggs, calm and determined, shakes his head. "We came to help," he says firmly. We go in. They push the door open and are immediately hit with the thick, acrid smell of smoke. The air feels heavy and dangerous. Briggs pulls out a flare and tosses it into a deep, blackened chimney. The light flickers down, revealing a long descent. Without hesitation, Briggs grips the cold metal ladder and starts climbing down. Sam turns to Grayson, who's lingering near the entrance, clearly uncomfortable. "Come on," Sam urges, his voice steady. "We stick together." Grayson gulps, glances nervously behind him, then reluctantly follows. Every creak of the ladder echoes like a warning as they disappear into the dark unknown below. Inside Colony 5, the place is a nightmare. Pools of blood stain the floors, smeared and dried in gruesome patterns. The eerie silence makes every creak and breath sound too loud, and the three men move quietly, their eyes scanning every shadow. Suddenly, they find a man huddled and trembling, his eyes wide with fear. "Shut the door! Keep it closed!" he whispers, his voice cracking with panic. This is Leland. His hands shake as he shows them a scrap of paper with a message scribbled on it. The message tells of a miracle. One colony managed to reactivate a weather tower. They melted the ice, broke up the thick clouds, and even uncovered fertile soil. Briggs leans in, his eyes narrowing as he reads. He carefully notes the location mentioned in the message, but it's frustratingly unclear. The voice from the message had begged for help. They didn't have seeds to plant in the soil and needed cooperation from another colony. Colony 7 had sent people to find this hopeful place, far beyond the edge of Briggs' map, but no one ever came back. Briggs urges Leland to return with them, but Leland shakes his head violently. "I'm not leaving," he mutters. "There's someone else here." A strange, low noise echoes through the dark halls, chilling them to the bone. Leland's eyes dart around, wild with fear. Without another word, he shoves the three men back into the hallway and slams the door behind them. The locks click into place as he retreats into his communication room, leaving them alone with the terror lurking in the shadows. The three travelers creep through the dark, icy halls of the compound, following the source of the pounding. Every step feels heavier as fear tightens in their chests. They finally reach an open space where they freeze in horror. A man with cold, dead eyes stands over a table, butchering human remains like a grotesque meal prep. Nearby, a group of twisted, deformed figures gnaw on body parts, their eyes gleaming with hunger. Suddenly, the butcher notices them. With a blood-stained knife in hand, he lets out a guttural growl and lunges. Briggs and Sam react fast, their guns firing into the chaos as they sprint for their lives. The air fills with gunfire and screams. Desperate to buy time, Briggs tosses a hand bomb. The explosion rocks the walls, sending chunks of ice and debris flying. Smoke and fire cover their escape, but the nightmare is far from over. Graydon is grabbed from behind. Dozens of savage hands claw at him, dragging him into the fray. He fights and screams, his terror piercing the dark. Briggs and Sam rush to help, blasting away at the cannibals, but there are too many. Graydon's screams stop. Briggs and Sam's hearts sink as they realize they've lost him. They have no choice but to leave his body behind as they run, the shadows chasing close at their heels. The two survivors, Briggs and Sam, run as fast as they can, their hearts pounding. Behind them, the cannibals chase, their crazed eyes locked on their prey. Finally, Briggs stops. He turns to face the leader of the cannibals, a tall, menacing figure with cold eyes. They stare at each other, sizing each other up, as if deciding who will make the next move. The tension between them is thick, like the air before a storm. Without warning, Briggs pulls out a weapon and blasts the entrance open. The sound of the explosion echoes, sending dust and debris into the air. The people of Colony 7 are beyond your help, Briggs says firmly, his voice steady despite the danger. Sam looks at him, knowing they need to get out of there fast. With temperatures dropping dangerously low, they can't afford to waste any time. Briggs leads the way as they head toward the helicopter, their only hope of safety. Once inside, they sit down, the weight of Graydon's loss heavy on their hearts. They don't speak, but the sadness in their eyes says everything. The cannibals are still chasing them, getting closer with every step. Briggs and Sam have to cross a giant hole, and there's no easy way around it. Thinking fast, Briggs pulls out some dynamite and sets it up on the bridge. This will slow them down, he says. They wait, hearts racing, hoping the explosion will give them a chance to escape. Briggs lights the fuse, and they run. The sound of the fuse crackling fills the air. Briggs turns back, watching the fire catch the dynamite. Boom! The bridge shakes, and a huge gap opens up, sending rocks and debris flying. The blast is so powerful that it knocks Briggs down, and Sam watches in horror as his friend is caught in the explosion. The leader of the cannibals stares at Sam, his eyes full of rage. Sam doesn't hesitate. He turns and runs as fast as he can, pushing himself toward Colony 7, the only place where he might be safe. Sam finally makes it back to Colony 7, feeling exhausted and scared. But when he arrives, things are already going wrong. Mason takes Elena's life instead of testing her for the flu. Sam is shocked, unable to believe what he's seeing. Kai, standing nearby, aims her gun at Mason, ready to stop him. But just then, Sam stumbles in, weak and dizzy. Kai rushes toward him, trying to help, but Sam collapses, fainting from the strain. Mason takes advantage of the moment. He lifts his shotgun and knocks Kai down, leaving her unconscious on the floor. When Sam wakes up, he finds himself in the infirmary, handcuffed by Mason. Mason has taken control and announced himself as the new leader, saying that the colony's food supply will be cut in half. Sam tries to warn him about the cannibals, but Mason doesn't believe him. He refuses to listen, thinking Sam might be imagining things after everything they've been through. One day, a boy, who had been scolded kindly by Briggs before, secretly steals the keys to Sam's cuffs. He uses them to set Kai free. Soon, Mason finds out that Sam has escaped. Sam and Kai don't waste time. They search for the location of the ice-free area by using Kai's connection to an old satellite. They spot a place that looks different, a 12-kilometer stretch of blue sky with no clouds. Sam grabs some random seeds and puts them in his bag, hoping they could be useful later. But Mason won't let them go. He still doesn't believe Sam's story about the cannibals and the danger they're facing. Just then, they hear loud banging noises. It's the cannibals coming closer. Sam tells Mason it's too late to stop them now. He says Mason will be the king of an empty castle if he doesn't act fast. Mason orders everyone to go to the meeting hall to protect the colony. He accuses Sam of revealing their location to the cannibals. Suddenly, the power cuts out, then comes back on. The cannibals, trying to sneak in, are using the ventilation system to get inside. Sam quickly reacts and kills one of the cannibals that was about to attack Mason from behind. Sam thinks they should leave the colony, but some people want to stay and fight. Since they are outnumbered by the cannibals, Sam tells everyone to head back to the meeting hall. A few survivors try to escape through the ventilation system, but one person decides to stay behind and set off an explosion to make sure the cannibals can't follow them. The leader of the cannibals survives the explosion, and he and Sam face each other. It seems like the leader is winning. He shows Sam his sharp, pointed teeth, and the room starts to catch fire. In a panic, Sam grabs an iron bar and starts hitting the cannibal leader. He keeps hitting him over and over, not stopping. Sam fights back with all his strength. Just when Sam tries to leave, the leader grabs him. Sam uses a butcher knife to fight back, and with one strong cut, he slices the leader's head in half, ending the fight. A small group of people manage to escape Colony 7. Mason stands still, looking at the burning ruins, thinking about everything they lost. Sam pulls out a tin of food and shows it to the group. He tells them they have what they need to survive, and that they'll make it through this, no matter what. They start their journey, heading toward the warm place they've been dreaming of, hoping for a better future. They know it will be tough, but they are determined to keep going. So, which awesome movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below and let's make it happen. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on our movie recaps. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Produced by Warner Movie Recaps 2.